I can do 2 parasols and 2 burgers. I've never seen anybody else do that. So.
Welcome to Log Off. Everyone has an internet story to tell, and today we're getting Michael Rayners. I first came across Michael when the TikTok algorithm fed me an angry man yelling at the camera while juggling, although I later realized I'd seen him many times before, because while he does have over 1 million followers on social media, he's much more than a screaming TikTok juggler. For decades, he's been performing his unique act live and on screen, including appearances on America's Got Talent, Letterman, and Sesame Street, and was involved with several programs on Nickelodeon, where his wife played everyone's favorite referee, Mo, on Guts. He's also acted on shows like Judging Amy and appeared in plenty of commercials that will give you a little nostalgia tickle when you track them down online. We'll get to all of that, but first, Michael, let's start this podcast the way we always do. At the beginning, what is your earliest internet memory?
Thanks for the question. Earliest internet memory. I believe I was touring Canada with the girlfriend, which then became the wife, and we started to use email. You know, and it was everything was so just sort of starting. I think email even is that considered internet memory? Is using email and even just finding static pages of information. You know what I mean? Not even anything. No flash pages, just static stuff. That's kind of it that I can remember.
Do you remember the first time you kind of started consuming content or like reading stuff online? Like what websites were you going to?
Yeah, it's weird. I just thought about just using the internet, and I think always the websites going to were always trying to research, like say we're going to a city or whatever, what's in that city. Always very more informational stuff. I mean, I think about if you think about it, the internet was first just pictures and words before any kind of flash or any kind of video or anything like that. So it was always just researching, we're going to this city, let's find out what's there, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, your career trajectory, it kind of predates what happens now, which is like people use the internet to get started. Do you, like in show business, do you remember like the first time you put something online for people to consume?
Yes and no. I mean, this is a two-parter and I'll get into it. COVID made me actively say, I'm going to really think about what I'm doing on the internet. So COVID is when I went from I had 1,000 Instagram followers and I used it for everybody else. I would maybe post a trick or maybe post pictures of a vacation, maybe post family pictures or other stuff like that. Then I kind of converted it into more like, this is what I do for a job. So that's when I took it seriously. But before that, like when YouTube just started, I would, randomly throw up tricks, not even trying to get followers, just sort of having it was easier to have tricks on YouTube than it was to try to embed them into the websites, causing so much memory lag. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so I think that was, gosh, back when YouTube first started, whenever that is. But I really feel like I didn't fully take advantage of social media and the power that is social media until COVID. I just always thought TikTok and everything was for young people, and I'm surprised at how it has a wide array of people that use it. I was always a live performer, and people knew of me, and YouTube, my commercials that I did, everything like that, I would just sort of throw them up on my YouTube channel, whenever I made it. Never really tried to promote it there, and I never really promoted myself on the internet other than everyone has a website. You know what I mean? Just as a clearinghouse for people to find out, who you are. Weirdly enough, now I feel my social media is far more of a valuable clearinghouse than my website nowadays.
Yeah, is that helping with booking? Like, are people discovering you through that and then trying to book you?
A little bit. I mean, yes, that is, the short answer is yes. But still, the main people that know me, because I've just been around for so long, just book me because they've known me for so long. But there is a contingent of people that book me from being, on the internet. And not only that, it's like, then, I'm also getting like a weird Cameo request. It's not through Cameo. It's just me where people say, hey, can you do the Nicolas Cage pillow basket and wish my brother a happy birthday? And I'll throw you some, and what's your rate for that? And usually it's like $100. But sometimes I just say, hey, whatever you can afford, just throw it to me to Venmo. And then when I make it open-ended, it's usually more than $100. People are sending me 150, a little bit more because they like it so much. And it takes me all of 5 minutes to go do a birthday greeting for somebody that's a fan of mine, which is nice.
So let's backtrack a little bit, because I want to know how you even got started with this. Like, what made you get into performing, and specifically like the juggling stuff?
In 1981, I graduated high school and we went to New York City, saw a show called Sugar Babies. There was a juggler in it at the time named Michael Davis, who then went on to do various bits on, like, not Letterman, but on Carson, and also on even Saturday Night Live had some variety at the time. He was on that. And I thought he was cool. At the same time, when I was 15, I saw Steve Martin at an outdoor amphitheater called Pine Knob, and he did little bits of magic, little bits of juggling. It wasn't the focus of his show, but there was this weird variety to it. And so those two influences, then as soon as I graduated high school, I started practicing for 2 years and then started doing shows, after, like, I think 2 years in, and I was just off and running.
Is there anything you did before that you think maybe helped you gain that dexterity, or was it,
I
you
was
picked it up and
had to... Everything in high school.
Yeah.
I was cut from the tennis team. I got when I was in JV football, even though I was terrible, you didn't get cut. You were just used for fodder for the better players. I was just, the garbage guy for the better players and they didn't even have good equipment for me. So they gave me a running back helmet just to go out there and be on defense when the good players would run over me. Well, because a running back helmet only has a thin guard there, this part of my head was exposed, and I got clipped into the back of somebody's foot as I was falling, knocked unconscious. Awful, terrible. When I woke up, it was awful. And then I got, the next year I got my shoulder. I broke my shoulder bone or whatever it was, or whatever this bone is right there. So terrible. This is what I tell everybody. That's why I use time. This is what I tell people. It's time. It might take an athletic person 1x to learn the tricks, where it takes me 4x. It's just 4 times as long, but I have the time, so I do the work.
So given that clumsiness or lack of dexterity, do you remember the first time you tried to juggle and how that went?
I don't even remember. It's been so long ago. I went to, there was a thing in Michigan where I'm from, a place called the Whoopie Bowl, and you could get all sorts of like junk. And so I would get junk to juggle, these weird rubber balls that were super cheap and some other things that I would try to do tricks with. And I just remember, the basics. And this is what I tell people. This was before YouTube. You got to remember, when I started learning, I had to learn how to juggle from a book where you're looking at diagrams. Imagine, we are now fed all this information through the internet, through YouTube. If I wanted to learn how to cook or do anything, or any athlete or any musician can sign up for YouTube and get a tutorial instantaneously, where I had to look at diagrams on a 2-dimensional space and then try to make it in my brain 3-dimensional. So I went to the Flint Public Library and started getting books out on juggling, like in 1981. So there you go.
Well, your signature trick is rolling a cheeseburger on a spinning parasol or umbrella.
Correct.
How did you come up with that?
I knew there was a trick where people rolled a ball on top of an umbrella. Then they would tip the parasol upside down. Then you would see it was on a string. Then you would clip the string and then spin it after that. Well, that's like 100 years old, that bit. So I learned the trick, but then I was in line at McDonald's, even though I use Burger King now. I was in line at a McDonald's. I bought a burger and it spun and it rolled on there, and then that was it. Then I just started doing variations on that. Even pickles flying out are only 5 years old, and lighting on fire is about 6 or 7 years old, and kicking it off my knee is like 6 or 7 years old. And now I can even do 2 fake burgers, not real ones. I use real ones in the show, but I have these fake ones that I use to practice. I can do 2 parasols and 2 burgers. I've never seen anybody else do that. So who knows?
Can you explain where the inspiration comes from to you keep iterating on the same trick and adding new things? Do you take suggestions, or is that just all out of your brain?
Well, it's like this. Think of somebody that plays the guitar, plays the piano, the multitude, or even like the Rubik's Cube. You can take a Rubik's Cube and every time you mix it up, it's a unique mix, or like a deck of cards. Every time you mix it up, I believe somebody said after so many shuffles, it's never been in that order before. So you have these tricks that you have this one basic thing, and then you figure, can I bounce it off my knee? Can I bounce it off my foot? Can I throw it over my arm? You just think of variations. Now, that's just what I think. I didn't even know that that was a thing, because in my internet comments, a lot of people asked me, when did you know you could do those things? Well, it's not that I knew I could do any of this. I think of a concept and then I do it. Like today, I just posted I did two posts today actually, picking up a cymbal, putting it on my chin while spinning a racket that's not connected, that's on fire. I make it a fire racket. And that was a concept that I thought of, and then I figured out how to do it. And it's just, that's what I think. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a weird thing. It's like, how does somebody think, how does anybody think about anything? So it's just in my brain, I guess.
You're doing a lot of this. I mean, you're filming it outside in your driveway. It looks like, I assume there's some trial and error. What do the neighbors say?
How my house is constructed with there's a fence all the way around. One side of the neighbors, they're just doing their own thing in their house, and they're just doing. And my neighbor Caesar, he on occasion pops over and sees it, but he actually follows me online, so he just sees the finished product. So those are the two neighbors that mostly see everything. So,
do you have a worst juggling injury that you've suffered?
No, here's the thing. I suffered an injury. Why I'm Broken Juggler on my social medias is because, do you remember the first week that the movie Iron Man came out, which I don't know how long ago, was that 20 years ago or what was it? How many years ago was
Right,
it?
close. Yeah, 15, 20.
I was leaving a parking garage and there was another car. Nobody else was around. It was really spooky. And then a car was looking kind of suspect, kind of sus, as they say. And I jumped over a concrete barrier, but I caught my foot and I dislocated this shoulder right here. And so it came out, and I have a detached labrum. So that's that. It comes out. I never got it fixed because I can put it back in. I went to the doctor twice to put it back in, and then I figured out how to do it. But if I hyperextend this way, I'll show you a little bit, it will come out on stage. So it's nothing related to juggling, but I will be like talking to the audience, doing a trick, and then I hyperextend and it falls out, and then I have to lay down on the stage and put it back in. Juggling wise, as far as I know, really never any injuries, other than there was one night, I think this was maybe during COVID. I was just practicing super hard this one bounce juggling trick. I don't post those as much because I can't figure out how to make them relevant. And I practiced for like, I don't know, 2.5 hours or something. And the next morning, everything was stiff. And I just, my doctor said, you got frozen shoulder. It's a thing. And then he just gave me a cortisone shot because it just wouldn't move. It was just sort of stuck in a certain area. I could still do the show, but it was super frozen. And then I think it was a cortisone shot, and it fixed it. So it was just over practice, actually, was one of them.
Do you think that makes for a better show when it pops out?
Well, it's a weird show. It pops out and I tell the audience, hey, I've got to put my arm back in. I lay down, I pull my arm back in, and then I jump back up. And then somebody was at a show that happened. I was at that same club, like it was a comedy club, Flappers Comedy Club in Burbank. A week goes by and I'm doing another spot there. And a woman said, hey, you didn't do that shoulder bit. And I said, well, it's not a bit. It's just a thing that happens. So there you go.
So it sounds like COVID was the impetus for you really putting more time into social media and putting this
100%. There's not even a question that COVID, strangely enough, is now making me more money on the internet than I would have if there wouldn't have been a COVID, because I was once again uninformed, because I would hear the hype about TikTok that it was just Charli D'Amelio dancing. And then I looked into it and it was so many various other things. Like right now, I know this is one of the questions. I don't want to jump the gun, but it's like, I get on like science algorithms. I'll get on real estate algorithms because I'm curious about, the real estate in the area. Then I'm like on, like this guy, Dan McClellan, who I like, who deconstructs and is super interesting about biblical scholarship as opposed to just and he's like, everyone hates him because he delves into the etymology and everything, and it's just science, and it's just it's just information that I find interesting, and it's little micro bits of information that you're waiting in doctor's office or you're waiting in the car for somebody to come back out. You can, do 4 bits of micro information.
Yeah, the beauty of TikTok to me is like it seems to find an audience for whatever content people want to create, which like it results in a lot of overnight successes. But you were kind of hammering away for a little while on there. I scrolled back and some of your early videos were, not exactly going viral. Was there a specific one that really like catapulted your account?
Exactly the one. Like the first 2 or 3 videos, it was just not really anything. And then my daughter was helping me a little bit, and then I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna do one myself. I'm gonna do the cheeseburger trick, and I found do you remember, the video game? I think it's PUBG. Do you remember PUBG, the video game? It's sort of like a precursor to Fortnite, I believe. And they had some audio from that, like a sound, just a music, not even like any kind of gameplay or anything. And I thought the sound really matched up to what I was doing. And I went to bed with like 100 followers on TikTok, and I woke up to 120,000. And then that kind of made me realize how to make the intersection work, even though now I've changed to more talking to the camera because I have to make longer videos, and they've taken all the rights music out of TikTok. And I like making the money on TikTok because I'm in the creator program, so everything has kind of changed. I'll still sometimes split, like I'll do a different version for TikTok and it's the same trick, and it's different for Instagram and Facebook because I'm even making money on Facebook now. So it's like, it's all about the money. I like making money for doing tricks in my yard. But the first trick was just doing the cheeseburger trick with like 3 tricks. I spun the burger, it unwrapped itself. Then I spun it around, threw it up in the air, under, then back up on top. I may have even done off the leg, and that one just went nuts. That was my first video that went over 1 million. And since then, I've had on TikTok, I've had like 25 videos go over 1 million. But then when they took the music rights out, I think some of my videos just got lost, but I know I have at least 20, 25 videos that went over 1 million. And over on Instagram, I've had probably about 15 to 20 videos go over 1 million. One went 26 million. My biggest one on TikTok, I think, was like 15 million. And then even on Facebook, I had a couple of videos go over 1 million too. And so that's how I started monetizing on Facebook also. So
for anyone who, maybe is developing a variety act and trying to get it going online, do you have any tips for them? I noticed you're pretty engaged with your audience, like you're posting reply videos and taking requests. Do you think that helps?
Oh yeah. No, here's my tips. One, I committed to once a day. Just commit to once a day. And I would hit and go viral, then I wouldn't go viral for a month. And then I would hit again and go viral. Then I wouldn't go viral for a couple months. Then I would go viral, viral, viral. Then I wouldn't go viral. So commit to once a day, doing variations upon variations. First, it was just tricks. Then it was tricks with basketball tricks. Then it was tricks with the Nicolas Cage pillow. And that was the thing that then really started this other whole lore. You know what I mean? And then just figuring out different combinations that I could do and different tricks. And then I started doing weird rants, like if it's a string or not on the tennis racket tricks. And those have been very popular because I'll just do a weird improv with it and go nuts. Try. Oh, what do you want over there? Well, I think the angry guy's over there. He wants me to do a series of tricks. Okay, get ready. First, some balls. There's 1. There's 2. Thank you, angry guy. Oh, look at that. That's an easy challenge for me. Like the very first, there's several times I've done weird rants where I just did a rant, did the thing, didn't even look at my phone, and went to like a show, and then I looked down and I have a million views, and that ended up making a ton of money on that one. So the biggest tip is once a day and variations, figuring out all your variations. I mean, there's great jugglers out there, much better than I am, but they're so concentrated on the technical trick, the technical side, that they don't get as many views because it's somehow it's not resonating with the audience, because there's amazing jugglers, but they got to figure out how to resonate with the audience, you know?
Breaking the fourth wall, like that's probably a key element to some of your success.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I talk to the audience all the time,
Mhm.
and then whenever I get a comment that I can riff off of, I love using that comment to riff off of, you know, and do some kind of crazy video with that, which was always great.
So that's a lot. That's a lot to handle. Like posting once a day. I know it's not as easy as just posting. You have to come up with the
I mean, and
content.
then to be
And
fair, like that was like the first couple of years, and then sometimes even more if I think about something that I want to add in. Now, if say I'm gonna if I go out of town or something and I can't and I don't know if I'm gonna get any area to do any tricks that I think will be cool, I'll take a trick from like a like 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, and I might throw together three compilation like a best of three tricks in a
oh,
row
that's
with
smart.
me doing voiceover over it and kind of explaining it or something like that. And even today at midnight last night, I took an old video and I did a weird I filtered the audio like it was how to like something about a dimensional portal because of bowling alleys are loud. That's where we can put the dimensional portals because they're so excruciatingly loud. And this was all while I was juggling a bowling ball in Pillsbury Doughboy. It was a weird voiceover that I just did last night. So I take something and kind of re-edit it a little bit into something weird.
So you're editing all your own videos. How are you doing that? Is that on a desktop or are you doing
No,
it right in the
I
TikTok
throw it
app?
on like Video Leap. You know, it's not that I don't have
Okay.
any deal with them or anything, but it was like $79 and it's super easy. I was using iMovie on my phone, but I found it much more clunky than Video Leap, iMovie on the phone. So if I'm at my desktop, I rarely do any editing on the desktop unless it's for like a demo reel or something where I need like Final Cut, a little bit more robust program.
So when I first emailed you about coming on the pod, you mentioned you were in the midst of 100 shows in 90 days. How do you manage keeping up with that and then also your online stuff?
It's well, sometimes the good thing is sometimes if I'm at a location, like I was going to San Diego for a couple shows and I jumped out and did a trick underneath a pier that looked really cool. So I grabbed a post on the way to a show. Sometimes when I'm at the show, I will find a comment that I can talk about and do it in the either the theater or the multi-purpose room because like in some of these places like some libraries, I do a lot of shows at libraries. They'll have a multi-purpose room sometimes, or they're connected to like a civic center and I get to have a nice little theater. So I'll be doing little weird bits in theaters, multi-purpose rooms, different things. And why I'm doing so many, it's like, and I still have access. And then when I get home, I'll still run out to the yard and do 30 minutes in the yard and try to figure out a post sometimes, you know. So that's how I manage that. And it was a lot of times I do 2 or 3 shows a day. That's why it's so many. And I mean, even there were some days I was doing 4, but not often, like a few times.
Is that your preference to stay that busy?
Of course, yeah. I mean, I love it. Yeah, of course. You know,
How far out is your calendar booked? Like, do you ever like
now
get worried when it gets a
it's
little light?
hardly booked at all. I mean, I think I've got 3 or 4 shows in September, a few in October. I have a bunch booked for next summer. Um, there's always other shows that I can pop into or not. I mean, sometimes you can just go grab a show at a comedy club, but it's not like good. It's not like, you know, uh, good money. So that's the thing. So right now this is why I could do this is because now I'm going to Denver on Friday for a show, but I had like 3 days in a row off. So it in the summertime I'll go 21 days straight with 0 days off. It's just like show.
So you were on America's Got Talent. There's a very fun clip online of you doing the cheeseburger trick with Heidi Klum.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, Mel B and I think Simon also, I think they buzzed you off.
Mel B did, and I think Simon decided he just seemed checked out, you know, and how he meant it. And remember, you know, the whole thing is I edited it so it looked like they were cheering me when I was doing the trick, but actually Heidi was throwing cheeseburgers at Simon before during my bit because remember they shoot so much, you know what I mean? And she hit his cup, so the audience started cheering, and then so I could take all that footage and make it, they shoot for 4 or 5 hours, and sometimes they're just so checked out of what's going on. And when I went on, they were kind of checked out of and they keep on trying to, like, every year they want me to come back on and do other bits. They constantly want me to do other bits, but I'm like, I did it 2 days. I was there for 2 days with all the pre-interview and all the other stuff. And I've had friends that have done really well on it, and I've been in top 10. I've had several friends in top 10 and one friend that was second in the whole thing. But it's just if those four don't like you, then they turn the audience on you. Whereas I go on James Corden and the audience love me, and we do bits on James Corden, and on David Letterman they love me. So it's like then you have to have this weird validation from a show. So I'm like, unless I can think of a surefire way to advance a little bit more. And even my friends that have advanced sometimes don't even make it to the live shows. So
I watched the Letterman clip, the Corden clip, obviously the AGT clip. You did the cheeseburger trick in all three. What was your plan if you went to the second round for AGT?
Oh, doing balancing things on my chin and doing my tennis racket tricks that I do. And then I also could light things on fire and spin a flaming cheeseburger. And then I also do a new trick where I'm spinning the racket and juggling 2 fire torches at the same time while on a balance board. So there's various tricks. There's always, and then one of my big things, how I even open my comedy club show, is I just balance the shoes from the audience. And if I can't balance your shoe on my nose for 7 seconds, I have to give you $10. And I balanced Jennifer Hudson's shoe on her show. I went on her talk show and balanced her shoe on my nose. So that was fun.
You also recently made a TikTok where you challenged Mel B to perform the cheeseburger trick. Have you heard anything on that?
No, I have not. No, because people always on the internet say I should go on America's Got Talent. I have to tell them, yes, I have been on, but Mel B was not buying what I was selling. So you have,
I heard on a podcast you mentioned you've performed at Elon Musk's house. What was that like?
This was way before he was kind of weird and bizarre. This is when he was married to like his second wife, I think. And it was back when he was like more of a liberal darling than like he was, I want to make the world a better place. I want electric cars. And then he kind of weirdly converted into this other thing, and it was weird. It was like, his house, and weirdly enough, I just saw his house that we performed at is in foreclosure because he let somebody else live there or try to buy it from him, and it didn't work out. So I went to the Zillow site, and that was the house we were at. And it was just kind of a weird event. It was about, what was the theme of the night? I think it was like something about media arts through one of the colleges. He was there. And Morgan Freeman was there, John Lasseter was there, a bunch of other people were there. And I took the gig because I did want to see Elon Musk's house. And I was doing little bits here, and Elon was maybe 10 feet away from me. It wasn't a proper show, which I rarely do atmosphere juggling, but I wanted to go to Elon Musk's house. And they said, after you're done with your bit, you can just go and enjoy the food and drinks. And so I love it. And yeah, I'm down with that. And so that it was fine. It wasn't super amazing, and it was interesting, but it wasn't, that was the coolest thing ever, So
were there other performers too? Like, were you kind of
there was a pickpocket guy. There was a marionette dude that had an Obama. This was, I think, during the Obama administration. I think he had an Obama puppet, and Morgan Freeman loved it. He said, "Let me call Obama up right now." And supposedly, when we were there, Morgan Freeman was calling Obama. Now, who knows if that's true or not? But I want to think it is. So there you go. And I did take a picture of Elon Musk's actual Tesla in his garage. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Okay, let's get to our dumb internet questions we ask every single guest. Tab check, Michael. Right now, how many tabs do you have open on your web browser?
Right now, 1 second. I'm going to tell you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 tabs open. I'm seeing what.
That's pretty good. That's pretty reserved. Is that typical for you?
It is kind of, because I'm weird. It's like, I don't like having a lot of browsers open because I'm always monitoring my memory, when things get slow and clunky, so I'm always kind of shutting down the browsers and only using one, either Chrome or Safari, but only one open at a time, so that my memory is, not always being gobbled up by things loading in that I don't want to load in.
That makes sense. When you open your social media apps, what are the algorithms feeding you right now?
Right now, I mean, when on Instagram, I'm constantly getting. I love pet videos. I'll constantly love a pet video on Instagram. It's like I can't get enough of them. And then I think the one that we enjoyed was like this woman went outside to see where her corgi was. I don't know if it was the woman's corgi or the woman's donkey, but when she got outside in the fence area, she saw a corgi riding on a donkey, like in the middle of the night. Like the corgi was on the donkey and the donkey was taking it for a ride. And I just found that charming. Um, and that so pet videos, obviously, it's always feeding me. Right now, it's feeding me a lot of election stuff, a lot of political stuff, obviously, and science. I have a fair amount of science stuff because there was just always something like I'm fascinated by all science aspects, So you know, is it Mark Rober who also came to fame on YouTube with making like the squirrel, trying to keep the squirrel from eating his nuts, and so he made this elaborate school, and then now he like makes weird contraptions. He used to be an engineer, now he's a full-time YouTuber. And so there's him. Uh, we would watch a little bit of Mr. Beast back in the day, but he's been getting a little bit more like his coming out that he's a little bit more of a tyrant on set, so not as much.
Do you have favorite accounts to follow on social media?
Dan McClellan, this weird Bible scholar dude that just always makes everybody angry because he said, well, that's not what that means. You're giving something authority that doesn't mean authority. And he challenges everybody to actually be thoughtful in their diatribes, which I love. He's very just, if you ever saw him, he's very calm and just goes through methodically, as opposed to everybody that comes after him is always yelling. So I follow him and watch his stuff. But then there's just tons of people that I don't even remember their names because it's just science stuff. There's science stuff. And then there's a new guy, and I cannot remember his name. I'm sorry, I'm failing on this, but he goes through emails between the boss and like somebody else, like just demanding bosses at jobs. And I find it hilarious how bosses are like, yes, you're going to have to not take your vacation. They're like, yeah, but we just planned this and we're leaving tomorrow. You have to cancel it all. And it's like, no, we got approved. Well, the other people have taken ill. You got to come back home. And he goes through it and just says how terrible these bosses are. So I'm always fascinated by that. So,
man, what is a corner of the internet people might be surprised you're interested in?
Oh, let me think. Okay. I've never told this to anybody, and this is terrible. And I don't even know. I don't even know why. But I do pop by. I do pop by those weird videos of like people like getting pimples popped, that are giant, like that Dr. Pimple Popper. And then there's various other people too. And I'm like, and then there's an offshoot of that is like earwax removal, because I always have terrible earwax. And I'm like, this is so weird that you have a compulsion to want to see it to completion. Like, yeah, let's get that taken care of. Let's see that fixed, So that's the bizarro, kind of grotesque thing.
I can not get into that stuff, but clearly there's a market for it. I mean, there's television shows, all these videos have millions of views. I'm just glad you admitted it. Someone did it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's out there and it gets views. Yeah.
What is the last thing that made you truly laugh online?
I do think it was like, I wonder which video it was. There's so many videos of this is problematic now because my daughter shows me so many videos of so many different, like little sketch comedy groups doing weird little funny sketches. I can't even, and that is kind of the sad thing, that I don't even remember the names of the groups, but the whole thing is, this is another one that's always ridiculous, is like, you know, always pets that are like this bulldog. I don't even know what site this is. There were two cats inside like a cushy cat house. The bulldog buried itself in and then came back out, and so its face was there. Then you see the bulldog face and two cats, and the bulldog farts, and you just see the cats look at each other and then walk out like, what is going on? And it's just silly and dumb, and it's just fun, and it's lighthearted. It's not devastatingly cruel like so much of the internet sometimes.
Yeah, speaking of which, what has been your most scarring moment on the internet, if you want to disclose it?
Oh, of course. Here's the funniest part about the internet. My feed is 99.9% just so people love it. You know what I mean? But like one guy once typed in, what are you going to do with those useless tricks? And then I used that on TikTok when he said, what are you going to do with those useless tricks, to do this crazy rant. That these useless tricks have provided me with a house with two bathrooms I can urinate in. And I just, this crazy like minute and a half rant that I did because it's my job. And then I listed the place. That diatribe made me about $1,000 on TikTok money. So I can't even hate the fact that, and then at the end of the diatribe, I thought it would be funny if I just looked at the camera and said, thanks for the comment, really cheerfully. And it just really worked and people resonated with it. But mostly for me, because I'm just doing kind of a fun, lighthearted juggling trick every day. It's very sweet. One time I did do a duet with this girl that was doing devil stick or racket type tricks that I do, or she was doing something. And then I did a duet with her, and I was doing really complicated stuff, and her stuff wasn't as complicated. And we were friends online because I really respected her learning stuff. You know what I mean? And she was doing well, just not as great as I was. People just started going off like, takes a man to do something, and being very misogynistic. And I said to her, hey, I'm sorry, I'm turning off comments because this is just wrong. And I just wanted it to be a fun thing for us. And she said, yeah, this is ridiculous. So that was the only time that somebody, instead of seeing we were just having fun doing a duet, was just kind of cruel to this other person for no apparent reason.
Ugh, that's brutal. How do you pry yourself away from your devices or log off? Do you have any like special tactics you use?
I mean, the good thing is it's like I'm always practice. I mean, a lot of times I go to the gym, and I'm always on the road, and then I'm at actual live shows. And I wonder if I think my daughter's taking off right now, going to somewhere. She just texted me, and I looked out the window, and she says she's going off with a friend somewhere. But you know, uh, at dinner, we never do phones at dinner unless we're all done with dinner and somebody has a funny video they want to show, or there's like funny, weird family app games. Like my daughters are 19 and 22, and they were some game called Wavelength that we all played last night. So my life is busy enough that it sort of organically happens. And plus I'm one of the few people that I'm using the internet more as an extension of my job, whereas it's not a crutch to feed, my lack of ambition, because I'm always working on new tricks. You know what I mean? And if I'm happen to be recording while working on new tricks, I'm still being active outside, getting exercise. And then if I catch something that I think I can make into a video, then it's awesome. So I think family dinners, when I'm actually doing shows, when I'm driving to shows, but does it account if I'm logging off, but I'm listening to a podcast? Is that still not logging off? Because it's more
I like to think it is. Otherwise, I'm online 24 hours a day. So
because it's like a podcast is back to listening to radio. And I love the fact, like when I didn't have podcasts and I would have to drive, I was relegated to like 3 stations to maybe, and after I would drive 50 minutes, I'd have to find that maybe an equivalent station somewhere because I would lose the signal. Podcasts now allow me to drive long distances and just go an hour and a half with like, the podcasts I listen to are like, Pivot. I listen to Scott Galloway, Dax Shepard, I listen to the Wall Street Journal, the Daily, all these podcasts. I remember those names pretty easily. Trying to think of any other podcasts. There was another one I liked. I got to get back to it. It was called Scamfluencers, and it chronicled the whole Sam Bankman-Fried, debacle from like this, crypto wonder kid to now sitting in prison.
You mentioned you have a 19 and 22-year-old daughters. Do they just absolutely love that their dad is popular on TikTok? How do they feel?
My 22-year-old really is very social media. She probably posts, I don't know, once a week, once a month, if that. And she just is not into it. My other one, she does enjoy it. But the funny part is like when somebody like at work or something, like when my daughter, when she was with now ex-boyfriend, but had a boyfriend, he was off at college in Washington, D.C., I think. And he was in a what do you call it? A text thread group with everybody on his dorm floor, and they would send him videos of me, and he goes, "Yeah, that's my girlfriend's dad." And then they would laugh, thinking, "Ha, funny," and they go, "No, that is my girlfriend's dad." And so they're fine with it. They're it's not like they think it's amazing. They're just fascinated that that I have quite a big TikTok following and a big Instagram following, and I get constantly get recognized like once a week, even just or even like I'll be out of town like in Dallas and I was recognized at the airport. So far I've been recognized at like 3 Starbucks. It's just so funny. So yeah.
It sounds like your girls are pretty well adjusted when it comes to social media. I have an 11 and a 14-year-old. Do you have any tips or advice for me? Try to make sure they see the same fate.
Well, it's like I am doing things differently. I use it as a platform for my business. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not doing it where look at this, oh, don't you have FOMO? You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's when it's like, oh, here are my friends that I was not invited to a party. That's where it gets difficult. You know what I mean? So I would always say, think of it this way. I would say, listen, you might have not been invited to that thing, and then they were posting about it. But it could have been a limit where the parents said you can invite 2 friends, and maybe you're third on the list, and you just got to be okay with that. You know what I mean? Or maybe they said you can invite 4 friends, and you were fifth. So that's the thing. Is like when you see something fun that you were not invited to, I think is the difficult thing. What I would suggest always is when you're doing your social media, make sure it's uplifting. Because there's so many fun things on the internet, and not when my kids were little, way before YouTube or TikTok, they were going to write a mean comment on a YouTube thing about that was stupid. And I said, no, unless you have a positive thing to say on this person's whatever they're presenting on YouTube, you don't need to chime in. You're stupid. You suck. You just don't just say, oh, I like that trick, or that's cool, or oh, what an amazing trip, or whatever it is. But you don't have to chime in with some kind of a cruelty.
Yeah, that's great advice. I like to think that comes back around too. If you're not the kid who's being a jerk online, it's probably not going to happen to you as much.
Hopefully, yeah.
So hopefully, yeah. Where do you think you would be without the internet?
Well, the thing is, I'm kind of lucky that I had a career before the internet, and I would just be back still doing what I do, and the internet has augmented my life, but it hasn't made my life. Where they're talking about a lot of influencers right now are really struggling to keep that up. And so they have to do crazier and crazier things, or then they get depressed because they're not making brand deals. I never had to care about. I get so many requests for brand deals that just I don't want to do that. That doesn't look like. I don't know if that supplement is healthy. You know what I mean? Somebody wanted me to do a big deal with some kind of like a Red Bull knockoff. And it's like, I don't, I mean, listen, I love having a Coca-Cola. I love caffeine. I have coffee in there, but I don't want to, be saying, oh, drink all these, 180 milligrams caffeine Red Bull type things. When you don't have to rely on that, it's awesome. You know what I mean? Because if it all went away, which TikTok might, but I think they're going to solve it, whatever. if it all goes away, I still have my live show and what I've always done before. This is just an augmentation, which makes it even makes it so much better.
So if it did go away tomorrow and you were able to save one thing, what would it be?
Oh, interesting. Save one thing, like I'm gonna have to clarify this. So, like, I would save like the Instagram community that I had, but if everything is going away, if that includes podcasts, I would save podcasts, because to me the podcasts are so great when I'm driving, because I drive a lot to shows, and it's another way to consume a little bit in-depth news. Like a lot of times we see, a few minutes here and there on the news or something on Huffington Post, and you see just like a 3-paragraph thing that you can read. But if you have like an hour and a half where they really, like Rachel Maddow will delve into a topic, like Spiro Agnew getting all this, all the back in the day, getting all these bribes, and beat by beat by beat, and how it all went down. It's much better than a 3-paragraph story. So it's just more informative. So I would say, podcasts would the number one thing. But if it was just for me, my Instagram account.
That's a great answer. I don't think I could survive without podcasts at this point. Yeah. So I love that one. All right. Thank you, Michael, for this discussion and for your many contributions to the internet. This is Ryan Perry saying, log off. The internet will still be there when you get back.
So long.